I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those birds out of the way. And that, I believe I could have run behind you. Martin, I can remember when we came to summer, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you sports out in the weight room. And you could pick up, you just almost pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to get it, and I learned that biggest mistake you ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. This is the Martin Houston Show, and I am he 18 tackles and 2 interceptions a year. And then of course I threw in Jamison Williams, who is a Ohio State transfer, who had 15 catches for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns over 2 seasons at Ohio State, compared to 35 catches for 710 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns this year for Alabama. Who would you have in mind for your most improved player so far this year, Mason?
Yeah, I think D-Rob is a good choice there. I think given the opportunity to finally kind of shine this year, he's really taken full advantage of it, and it turned into a hell of a running back. But somebody that that hasn't necessarily improved since last season per se, but kind of started been just unreal. He's really turned it on, and wide receiver number 1 again.
Yeah, definitely. You're talking about a guy that everybody was expecting a lot from the jump last year. You know, with the end of Jalen Waddle, he had, you know, the opportunity to be the number 2 guy behind Devontae last year, and he went for almost 1,000 yards and I think 7 touchdowns. But, you know, had a slow start, you know, was dealing with injury, and he just didn't look right at the beginning. But I think he had somewhere around 27 catches, 26 catches over the last 3 games. 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns over the last 3 games. So you definitely see that he is healthy. He's been practicing more, and it's turning into production on the field.
Xavier, I want to ask you one question. You mentioned a lot of these players, obviously kind of what we saw from them last year, and it wasn't like a whole lot, especially from somebody like Bryce Young. But, we going into this year, myself and a lot of people kind of expected Bryce Young to have a big year. But, was there anything that you saw last year specifically from him that kind of led you to believe or led you ready for him to have such a big season so far?
Well, when you look at a guy like Bryce, he didn't have a ton of opportunity last year. Of course, a shortened season, not having much chance to go through. He didn't have a spring. He didn't really have a summer because of COVID. So you knew it was going to fall on Mac's shoulders. But he showed glimpses here and there. Of course, that amazing touchdown pass that he had to Devontae last year in the Kentucky game where he threaded the needle. So you like, okay, there it is. As we've talked, we knew what he could be. You heard the rumors, the predictions. This is a guy that could throw like Tua, but he can run like Jalen. And he didn't do a lot of it early. But then you just look over the last couple of weeks, now that he started to use his legs, I think it's made him that much more dangerous and explosive as a player. And now teams are worried, hey, if we rush this guy and he gets out, he might take off and run. So I think he's exceeding expectations for some, meeting expectations for others.
Him adding, not that like the run game is something necessarily new to his game, but like you said, he didn't really bring it out a whole lot. He was kind of seemed like he was pretty reluctant to run the first, 5-6 games of the year. But these last 2 weeks, it has added an entire other dimension to his game. The defenses have yet to account for up to this. This is something that really brings a whole new layer to this Alabama offense that kind of lacks with Mac Jones. Obviously, last year's team was fantastic. We're not going to take anything away from them, but just the way that Bryce can kind of turn the offense into a whole different way is really special.
Oh yeah, not every quarterback needs to be able to use their legs. Of course, we saw that with Mac. His ability to just put the ball on the money. And one of the most accurate passers to ever play at the collegiate level. And we've seen that translate so far with New England as he leads rookie quarterbacks in every passing statistic that there is. But, with Bryce having his skill set, I think he wanted to prove to people that he didn't have to run. And he did a great job of moving in the pocket. He would extend plays and keep looking downfield. But there was just that little bit of something left to be desired when you see, oh man, it looks, as you're watching at home, watching it, saying he could have had a 15-yard run, a 20-yard run, things like that, and he just kind of laid off and would throw it at the last second. And we saw times in the I think it was the Southern Miss game where he threw an interception on a play where he could have just, if he took off, that's the first down, if not a touchdown. But him using his legs is definitely helping the team improve and be better so far. And then, of course, when you look at this team and you look at what as you said, John Mechie being able to step up the last few weeks. But I think Jameson Williams, to me, outside of Brian, has been the biggest surprise. Because, Alabama's had wide receivers transfer in the past, a Garrett Dieter, a Richard Mulaney, and they weren't that big a part of the offense when you go look at their total numbers. So the fact that Jameson has come in and he's leading the team in yards, he's leading the team in touchdowns, his ability to contribute to the game from the special team standpoint with his kickoff return ability, I think he is probably my number 2 guy as far as most improved from last year and through these first 8 games.
Yeah, I think Jameson Williams is the perfect example of somebody that used the transfer portal right. He used it correctly to his own advantage. You look. I think Mel Kiper released a big board this week, and he had Jameson Williams as the number 1 wide receiver ahead of Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, who were the kids that pushed him out of Ohio State. So it just goes to show you that sometimes you're just not the kids aren't in the right situation, and he moved on and found the right situation. And you see what he's doing at Alabama.
Yeah, and Speaking of that, I was looking at his numbers compared to Olave and Wilson's numbers, and I think Olave has 1 more catch, or Wilson has 1 more catch, and Olave has 2 more touchdowns. Receiving, of course, you throw in Jameson's 2 kickoff returns, and it's like, hey man, this guy's playing as good as they are, if not better. He just wasn't in the right situation, as you said.
I don't think I've seen a player that has gotten more out of the transfer portal than he has. He's completely turned his career around. I mean, he's going to be a first-round pick, and if he stays at Ohio State, he's not even guaranteed to see the field this year.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State is deep at wide receiver, so another man's trash is another man's treasure, and we appreciate Ohio State for not using Jameson and letting him come to Alabama. When you look at the way this defense has gone, one of the biggest was losing Patrick Surtain. Do you think Jalen has done a good job at replacing him?
Oh man, the kick slide king, he's unreal. Jalen Davis is out of this world. He is a fantastic corner.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that battled injury early, got stuck behind, better players, but he's really made this opportunity shine so far this season. But we're going to go ahead and take a break. You can call in at the Taco Casa hotline at 205-342-9904 as we will be talking about, is Bryce Young the Heisman frontrunner when we come back?
High 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, everything looking good on our roadways as we pick up our Friday morning commute. If you conditions, of course, give us a call 205-886-8886. Just 2 days left for you to take advantage in savings at Townsend Nissan. Great selection and great savings. I'm Cap Ray.
Hughes will stay on the top of the yard. Watch for 3. It's supposed to block by her. The back row. The Buccaneers down. It's Bama. Get ready for a new season of Alabama basketball. The defending SEC champs are back in Coleman Coliseum, and the Tide host some of the biggest games of the year. Tickets are on sale now. Reserve your seats today at RollTide.com.
I got a late reading on the Cardinals after Missouri needs a new left after their current one literally moved to it.
really run a program.
Yeah, I think that's been proven. I think he kind of struck gold in 2019. Of course, getting Joe Burrows to transfer in, and then having a Justin Jefferson and a Jamar Chase. Jefferson sets the key record last year for receiving yards, and it looks like Chase is going to break it this year.
Yeah, I mean that team was just a perfect storm of everything going right for him at the right time. They hit their stride. What do you do? That was a good team.
Yeah, I mean, hands down, it was one of the best teams ever. So you look at how it's fallen off the cliff. It really lets you appreciate what Alabama's been able to do up under Coach Saban, because this isn't the first time we've heard of a team that's supposed to come in and replace Alabama. There was the Auburn rumors of replacing Alabama, LSU, losing to Ole Miss a couple times. Though is Ole Miss on Alabama's level, and then you look at the grand scheme of things. Even Clemson dropping off the way that they dropped off, off of a cliff this year. When you look at the dominant run that they had up under with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, and Florida State as well. That's a program that went from winning a national championship to now they can't beat anybody. They lost to Jacksonville State this year. So it just really shows you the caliber of coaching and consistency Alabama's had up under Coach Saban.
Yeah, I think you bring up Clemson, and that's a really good point. Just the drop-off they have faced this year is out of this world.
Yeah, you're talking about DJ Ungala, who was supposed to be one of these guys that was in the Heisman conversation with Bryce. It's funny that the two guys that were favored in front of Bryce this year in Ungala and Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler's no longer the starter, and now DJ got benched against Pitt last week. So that I think that does help Bryce a little bit, because he's the guy that was up there at the beginning that has maintained and played to that level. Speaking of Oklahoma, do you think Caleb Williams in a half a season as a starter is a real Heisman contender?
I do not believe that he's a Heisman contender this season. I think he'll probably make some waves, this last half of the year, and he might finish as one of the, kind of relatively high in the voting. But next year is probably his year to watch out for. But we've actually got a caller on the phone line, so we've got Pat right now, so we're gonna jump out to him real quick.
All right. Welcome in, Pat. How you doing this morning? All right, hung up on me. You get. You get.
We'll put you back on now.
All right. Hey, Pat, go ahead with your question. I'm sorry I missed that.
Pat was asking. I'm sorry, I'm struggling this morning on the phone. Pat was asking about. I think he was asking about some Alabama recruiting, wanting to get in some of these big guys. But we've got one more caller. Let me get his name, or let me put him on for us and see if Pat calls back in because I accidentally dropped him. Golly. All right. Here's our other caller. How's it going this morning?
Hey, it's Robert from Mobile.
What's up, Robert? How you doing this morning?
I'm okay. Hey, I hate to disagree with you there, Xavier, for Bryce Young. But Heisman doesn't play. Actually, well, no, the Heisman doesn't always go to the best player on the best team because you got the RG3s and the Johnny Manziels and the Lamar Jacksons that will lose multiple games. And I agree with the guy with you about the strength of schedule, mattering a whole lot. It's called Michigan State's undefeated. Well, yeah, but Michigan State, say Alabama schedule, they would have lost to Florida. They would have lost to Texas A&M, and we'll lose probably a couple more down the stretch if they played Alabama schedule with their team. So Bryce Young had to do it against better competition, and Just because out of a loss game doesn't necessarily mean they're not the best team either. But I'm sure you know all these things. Well.
Agreed.
But yeah, I still put Bryce Young as a front runner. I don't even know who the guy is you mentioned with, I guess, he plays Michigan State. We don't get to see it much, but usually when the guys, perform at high level, you at least know who they are. You know, you'll follow the school. And the guy you mentioned, I really don't even have a clue who he is, which means he play maybe not been as spectacular as Johnny Manziel and RG3s and Lamar Jackson, but we knew who they were, even though we didn't follow their school. So, I'm still going with Bryce Young.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going with Bryce as well. The crazy thing about Kenneth Walker is he's a guy that transferred from Wake Forest. He's now at Michigan State. He's leading the nation in rushing. It's kind of been quiet. I mean, he's got a couple 200-yard games. He's got a 90-plus yard touchdown run. I can't remember who it is against. It might have been Miami, but it's weird because you hear of a guy that leads the nation in rushing, all these other statistics, and he's relatively quiet, as you said. But I'm definitely giving it to Bryce as well. But Robert, got to get to break. I appreciate you calling in. And once again, you can call in at the 205 at the Taco Casa hotline at 205-342-9904. And as we come back, we'll be talking about around the SEC, some of the big games this weekend. So stay tuned.
High 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, everything looking good as we crank up our Friday morning commute. If you do see conditions, of course, give us a call, 205-886-8886. Just 2 days left for you to take advantage of month-end savings at Townsend Nissan. Great selection and great savings. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard, right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. And
tees, as well as some new colors in Carhartt loose fit, heavyweight pocket tees, and the ever popular Force Relax Fit midway tees in both long and short sleeves. Irvin's also has a nice selection of Carhartt hoodies for both men and women. While shopping at Irvin's, don't forget to check out all the new Carhartt caps and beanies in great new colors that you're sure to love. So remember, Carhartt at Irvin's, and tell them Van the Boot Man sent you.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance to buy $1 million of affordable term life for you. All you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-777-1225. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our Pep Talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalk35.com at peptalks35.com or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. And we have Pat joining us on the phone. How you doing this morning, Pat?
Hey, yesterday when you was talking to Hank, did you mention anything? Walter Nolan, it seems to be as sketchy as anybody that I've ever run across as far as recruiting goes. His top 8 included Alabama, and his top 3 includes 2 teams that were not in his top 8. How sketchy is that?
No, we didn't talk about Walter yesterday. As Hank has said, Walter's recruiting process has been an interesting one, to say the least. As you said, he's included teams, taking teams out, says he's still open to anybody. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Walter Nolan as he comes in.
I got you. And the other thing is Arch Manning. Do you think that the Mannings are going to finally see the light and send Arch to Tuscaloosa so that Coach Saban can have his big-time hurrah going out as far as his coaching time with Alabama?
Oh, man, wouldn't we all love to have a Manning put on the crimson and white? I don't know. I mean, for Alabama's sake, I hope they do, and I hope Arch comes. But, he's a Louisiana kid, so he's got, that down-the-road feel with LSU. His grandfather and uncle played – his grandfather, dad, and uncle played at Ole Miss, and his other uncle is a legend at Tennessee. So you just never really know with guys like that. He might want to be a legacy. He might want to blaze his own path, but you still, of course, have teams like Georgia and Texas as well in the mix with him.
You're too young to remember, but I was sitting in Alabama on about the 45-yard line whenever poor Eli, we beat Eli, Ole Miss 45-0 that night or something like that. The defense was absolutely amazing. I think Andrew Zal may have been quarterbacking that night.
I'm not too young for that.
Oh, you remember that?
Yeah, I was. I think I was.
They put him in the fourth quarter. Had he got hurt, it would have been his grandma's fault for making him go to Ole Miss. And I thought about that. I said that defense was eating their butt up.
Yeah, no, I remember that. We spanked. We either spanked us or we spanked Ole Miss when he was there. I remember, of course, that game, the 2001 game that we lost to him, and then of course we blew him out the next year after that again. So no, I definitely remember those games. I don't. Yeah, if you go past Eli's time, that's when things get a little fuzzy for me. But I definitely remember Eli at Ole Miss.
I got you. Hey, look, this weekend, Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss beats, and I know you wanted to talk a little bit about down on the plains. Ole Miss goes in there and spanks their butt. That it's gonna be ugly, and Lane pole vaults into Baton Rouge. That's what I'm scared of.
Oh, you think he might leave Ole Miss to go to LSU?
If he beats Auburn like I think they're going to beat Auburn, they're going to open up a checkbook for him down there.
Hey, it could happen. You know, Lane's known to make quick moves and fast moves. So him bouncing around to his third SEC school wouldn't be that surprising, actually.
Gotcha. Hey, have a blessed day and keep up doing what you're doing. And I hope your dad will have you keep coming on, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Pat. You have a good one. Speaking of someone commented, Peter said through 8 games, he thinks Cameron Latou is the most improved player for Alabama, and that without his development, we would not have a true threat at tight end due to Billingsley having struggles through this season. How do you feel about that?
As much as I hate to say it, I think you're right. I went into this season thinking, Jaleel Billingsley was the next Kyle Pitts, but I mean, he's been good, but drops have been an issue. It seems like he's run some lazy routes here and there. He has not really lived up to expectations, and Cameron Latou has far exceeded them.
Yeah, you look at Jaleel, as you say, everybody was expecting a OJ Howard type season, a Irv Smith type season, even a Kyle Pitts type season, and he's had games where he looked like he was an All-American, and then the next game he just completely disappears from the offense. And luckily for us, Latou has stepped up and has played well. And I think Latou's working himself, if he finishes the season strong, into a good draft position. Not saying that he's going to be a first rounder or anything like that, but a big guy, 6'5", 250, he fits more of that Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski type mode, a big guy that can block and make plays with the ball in his hand.
Yeah, his Cameron Latou's skill set is extremely valuable in today's NFL. What he can do, like you said, from a physicality standpoint, and then also with his hands, he has really turned into quite the tight end.
Yeah. So, a little bit of a sidebar. Is Jaleel the biggest disappointment so far this season?
I'd say either him or probably Henry To'oTo'o. I still, like I said, both of them have shown spurts this season, but especially from To'oTo'o, I just have not really seen what I expected to see from him this year. There's a lot of times where it looks like he's kind of playing soft defense out there. He's not really taking on blocks head on. He's not trying to fill gaps. There's been a lot of disappointment, really, from the middle linebacker, just from the linebacking core as a whole, but especially To'oTo'o with how much of a highly touted transfer he was coming in.
Yeah, I think people were expecting the impact that Jameson has had on the offense. They were expecting that to be the same impact that Henry had on the defense, and it's like you said, it's been there in spurts, it's been there in moments, but it hasn't been consistent. CJ Watson said, goodness, I remember the 45-0 beating of Ole Miss like it was yesterday. What a fun game that it was, CJ.
Another position group that has been kind of a letdown this year, really the offensive line. Obviously we're coming off of having probably the greatest offensive line of all time in 2020. So there's
you taking that O-line over the 2012 O-line?
That 2020 O-line was unbelievable. It was not only the skill that those guys had, but it was the amount of leadership on that O-line. You had a guy like Landon Dickerson, a guy like Alex Leatherwood. They were just vocal leaders for that team that we're kind of not really seeing much this year. You see Evan Neal kind of say some things here and there, but there's not really one big leader like a Landon Dickerson last year on this offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it was you got to think Landon played center. That's in my opinion, for an offensive lineman, that's the easiest position to lead from because you're literally controlling everything to the left of you and to the right of you. I think it's a little bit harder for a guy on one edge to be that vocal voice, But yeah, I mean, you don't have the vocal leadership, at least, that you had of a Landon Dickerson on this team. And that's why I also talk about that 2012 offensive line. You're talking about having Barrett Jones right there in the middle of that line and the ability to lead that group, along with having Chance Warmack and DJ Fluker at tackle as well. So I think those two lines will have to fight it out for the best offensive line ever. You know, Bama was a little bit different then. We were a little bit more run heavy than we are today. And I think that might be a little bit because we didn't put up as prolific numbers as the 2020 team.
I think those are probably your 1A and 1B right there.
Without a doubt. CJ Watson also says he would probably have to give the award for most improved to two players. He agrees totally on the two, but he'll have to add B-Rob because he's proving game by game that he's that guy. And Peter Beans says expected Job to be more of a lockdown corner. He is good, but not an elite corner. We need one corner to be elite. So how do you think Job has performed this year?
He's been a bit of a letdown. You know, he hasn't really played that bad. It's been, you know, he's played fine. It's just, it seems like the guy just doesn't know how to turn around. He gets called for pass interference anytime he gets beat. You know, it's like his instinct is just, oh, the guy's a step behind me. Let me just, you know, get a PI call here and make up for it. There's no recovery there. You know, he's perfectly fine if he can keep his receiver in front of him, and he does that a fair amount. But as soon as anybody gets a step on him, it's game over for Josh Jobe.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed about a lot of Alabama's corners, and that's what I think has probably impressed me the most about Armar Davis. You don't see that a lot out of him that you've seen out of Jobe and other corners in the past, that when they get beat, they don't even look for the ball. They throw hands up, get a pass interference. The safeties as well. You look at Helms on the game-winning drive for Texas A&M. If he turns around instead of trying to just body up Weidemeyer, he probably intercepts the ball.
Yeah, sometimes I just really question the thought process of some of these guys. And like you said, Jalen Armour Davis, I went into this season expecting Josh Jobe to be the corner where everybody talked about and, you know, was going to be the first-round pick and everything. But Jalen Armour Davis has just flat out played him.
Yeah, he's been impressive this year. But, you know, I mean, it happens. You know, I'm glad CJ brought up the fact about Latu, and because he probably has, you know, as much as people said B-Rob, even I like B-Rob as the choice for most improved as well. Latu's impact on this team has been, you know, next level to what we thought we were going to get. You know, everybody knew B-Rob was going to be the go-to guy, but we thought it was going to be more of a committee than it has been since the McClellan injury. But Latu stepping up has kept that part of the offense alive. With, you know, I think Jalil has one catch over the last 3 games, maybe 2. So, you know, definitely big performances from Latu throughout the course of the season. But we're going to get to our last break as we wrap it up, and we will hit around the SEC as we come back. Everybody be blessed still through the rest of this show.
Tide 100.9 traffic. The town of the Nissan Traffic Center, everything looking good on roadways. Just crank up our Friday morning commute. If you do see conditions, of course, call 205-886-8886. Just 2 days we got month-end savings at Towns and Nissan. Great selection and great savings.
Who's on the phone? George Mack. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, as we get ready to wrap up the show, we have George from Macon calling in. How you doing this morning, George? I'm doing wonderful.
And the most improved, you got to go with Bryce Young. You know, he was really an unknown commodity as well as, in playing in the college game. Not as maybe a recruit, and he has improved every game. And I would hate to see what our offense would look like without him. And, those are my comments. And thanks for taking my call, and you have a great weekend.
You too, George. You be blessed. Yeah, you said Matthew has been a disappointment. I agree. Throughout the first 5 games, he wasn't living up to what we were expecting. But I am excited about the fact that he is getting healthier and the way he has performed over the last couple weeks. Mississippi State and Tennessee putting up huge numbers and getting in the end zone. Job has been a little bit of a disappointment from what we've expected from him. And you can't go wrong with going with Bryce for being most improved, with a guy that didn't have a lot of playing time before this. And just to wrap it up, Peter says Latu has been giving us a serious threat at tight end. TJ Watson says the O-line discussion, he has to give it to 2012. The elite lines always have great tackles and centers, but the guard play for the 2012 line with Warmack was next level. All 5 guys were in the NFL. And then he also says outside of hurdles, no hurdles that make highlight reels, B-Rob is sharing more time than Najee last year while putting up similar numbers by a much less dominant offensive line. And just I agree with all of that, CJ. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that as far as what he's been able to do behind a line that isn't as dominant as what we've had in the past. And you're right, Warmack takes that to the next level. Then you look around the SEC this weekend, we have Florida, Georgia. I think Georgia's going to pull it out and stay undefeated, but I think Florida gives them their biggest challenge of the year. You have Ole Miss, Auburn. The loser of this game will be out of contention for the SEC West unless things fall apart for Alabama and or the winner of this game down the stretch. Kentucky, Mississippi State. Can Kentucky bounce back after that butt whooping that Georgia gave them a few weeks ago? And can they stop the prolific passing offense that Mississippi State runs? And, of course, you have Mizzou and Vandy. And I'm giving it to Mizzou. Vandy hasn't proven much of anything this year. But as we get ready to wrap it up, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in as we go through this week and giving me the opportunity to lead this show. My dad will be back on Monday. So, hey, Alabama's off this week. Enjoy some of the other big games around the SEC and around the country. Once again, Michigan State, Michigan tomorrow. Both teams undefeated, and it'll start to shake out that Big Ten and see who are the real competitors from there. But everybody be blessed and have a great weekend. This is Xavier Houston of X's and O Sports Podcast, hosting the Martin Houston Show on Tile 100.9.